Let us take a quiet breath together before we begin. Imagine the day's first light spilling gently across the room, inviting us to rise and greet another morning. That hour feels simple, innocent, even forgettable. Yet it is in these quiet, unguarded routines that our health whispers its loudest warnings. Today, I want to speak with you about something that hides in plain sight, something that grows silently over years, something that takes more lives after the age of 60 than most people realize. I want to guide you into a deeper understanding of how small morning habits can triple the risk of stroke, and how the earliest signs often go unseen not because they are invisible, but because they feel ordinary. The human body, at every age, is a conversation between our choices and our biology. It remembers everything we do, even when we do not: what we eat, how we move, how we treat our blood vessels and our heart, how we respond to stress. All of it is recorded in tissues and arteries and tiny chemical messages that travel through the bloodstream. Stroke is not simply an event that happens in a single catastrophic instant. It is a story written by thousands of moments, many of which unfold when we wake. Consider the morning not as a time on the clock, but as a biological shift. During sleep, the body slows its metabolism, blood pressure dips, and the brain resets its chemical environment. At the moment we awaken, everything suddenly accelerates. The heart beats a little faster, hormones surge, blood pressure rises in an attempt to keep us alert. This transition is healthy when the blood vessels are elastic and the heart strong. But after the age of 60, the circulatory system often carries scars from decades of stress, inflammation, and imbalance. Arteries may be stiffer, blood may be thicker due to dehydration, and the brain's delicate vessels may no longer handle pressure changes as smoothly as they once did. In this vulnerable moment, how we greet the day matters far more than we might assume. Many people wake abruptly, rushing out of bed as if chased by time. This sudden movement sends a wave of pressure through the vessels. For an older person whose arteries are less flexible, this shock can be harmful, especially if there are hidden plaques lining the vessel walls. Think of these plaques as fragile structures, made not of stone but of fats, immune cells, and tiny crystals of cholesterol. They are delicate, unstable, swollen with the history of years of poor dietary patterns or chronic inflammation. A sudden spike in blood pressure, such as when someone jumps up quickly after waking, can rupture them. If just a fragment breaks off and travels to the brain, it can block a blood vessel and cut off oxygen to brain tissue. That interruption is what we call a stroke. So one of the simplest dangers in the morning is the haste we treat it with. In our attempt to hurry, the body pays a price. Another habit that dramatically increases risk is skipping water. Overnight, we lose moisture through breathing, sweating lightly, and the slow release of bodily fluids in our metabolism. When morning arrives, our blood is more concentrated than it was the night before. It flows more slowly and can clot more easily. Clots are not villains. They are essential for survival. They protect us when we bleed. But after 60, the body becomes more likely to form clots at the wrong time and in the wrong place. Without hydration, the blood remains thick, and if a clot forms in the wrong vessel, it can block the path of blood to the brain. A glass of water, taken slowly and calmly after waking, is not just hydration. It is a gift to the bloodstream, a gentle reminder to flow freely. Then comes another habit, one that many people practice with almost ritual devotion: reaching for coffee immediately. Coffee itself is not the enemy. In fact, moderate amounts can benefit the heart, the brain, and even longevity. But the timing matters, especially for older adults. On an empty stomach, the caffeine's effect on blood pressure is sharper, more aggressive. Just when the body is already experiencing its natural morning surge, this additional stimulation forces the vessels to tighten and the heart to beat harder. In younger systems, this stress is absorbed easily. In older systems, it can act as the final force that cracks a vulnerable artery or loosens a clot. The coffee is not harmful by nature. It becomes harmful when consumed without preparing the body first, without water, without gradual awakening, without allowing the cardiovascular system to adjust. Imagine if instead of rushing to caffeinate, you first hydrated, stretched gently, and allowed your blood pressure to rise at its own rhythm. That small delay could prevent a vessel from rupturing years down the line. A third morning habit that multiplies risk after 60 is ignoring the body signals. The earliest signs of stroke risk do not feel dramatic. They are quiet glitches in the body's communication system. A brief moment of dizziness when rising, even if it lasts only 3 seconds. A sense of heaviness in one leg upon waking. A temporary blurring in one eye. A strange tingling in the fingers of one hand that disappears after a short stretch. Many people dismiss these symptoms as trivial or just getting older. They are not random. They are warnings that the blood flow to the brain is occasionally failing, even if only for seconds. These momentary episodes are called transient ischemic events, tiny strokes that reverse themselves. They do not produce lasting damage at first, but they are practice attempts. The body is telling us something important, that the systems responsible for brain circulation are faltering, and a full stroke could be imminent if no changes are made. Ignoring these signs increases risk, not only because we fail to seek care, but also because we continue the very routines that make things worse. If dizziness greets us in the morning, and yet we still launch out of bed or skip hydration, then we are pushing against the boundaries of what the aging vessels can handle. Listening, in this case, becomes medicine. There is also a psychological habit that influences stroke risk, waking up with immediate stress. Many older adults open their eyes and instantly think of responsibilities, losses, health worries, finances, or the weight of caregiving. The body does not differentiate between emotional stress and physical threat. It responds with chemicals that tighten arteries, increase heart rate, and raise blood pressure. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes more intensely in the morning. When someone fuels that natural spike with anxious thoughts, the effect becomes amplified. The vessel walls, already more rigid with age, are strained even further, increasing the chances of a clot forming or a vessel wall tearing. The danger lies not only in how we think, but in when we think it. The mind, unguarded and worried at dawn, can accelerate damage that takes decades to reveal itself. Let us pause and reflect on why the morning holds such power. Every process in the body follows rhythms. Hormones, metabolism, heart activity, and neural communication all obey a daily cycle. The morning marks a shift from the deep conservation of sleep to the energy demands of wakefulness. Like a machine warming up, the system is sensitive at this moment. Most strokes occur in the morning for this very reason. The forces at work inside us are strong, and the vulnerabilities of age make the transition harder to manage. Yet we treat these hours casually, unaware that the body is performing a complex transformation that deserves care and patience. The first signs that a stroke may be approaching are rarely dramatic. They are subtle disturbances in how the brain communicates with the body. Sometimes the early sign is not even physical, it is cognitive. A moment of unusual confusion upon waking, a struggle to recall a simple word, a sudden difficulty forming a coherent sentence, even if it resolves quickly. The language centers of the brain are among the first to reveal distress when blood flow falters. We often think of lapses in language as a normal part of aging, but the brain does not fumble without reason. It signals when its pathways are struggling to receive oxygen. Temporary communication problems in the morning should never be dismissed as senior moments. They can be faint echoes of something far more serious. There are also early signs in mood and behavior. Irritability upon waking, sudden emotional swings, or an unexplained sense of fatigue can reflect changes in brain chemistry caused by poor circulation. When brain tissue is hungry for oxygen, it alters the production of neurotransmitters, the chemicals that regulate thought and emotion. The person may not feel physical pain. Instead, they feel off balance mentally, as though their thinking does not align with their intentions. These experiences are often misinterpreted as depression or stress, when in reality, they may be early signals that blood flow in the brain is unstable. Even the act of walking can reveal the earliest warnings. If the legs feel weak or uncoordinated in the morning, if the gait is unsteady only during the first minutes of waking, this may indicate that the brain regions responsible for balance and motor control are struggling to engage. Many people chalk this up to stiff joints or arthritis. But stiffness is different from neurological weakness. Stiffness improves with movement, while neurological weakness reveals itself through imbalance, dragging one foot slightly, or feeling as though the floor shifts beneath you. There's another overlooked habit that raises risk: skipping breakfast entirely. The intention behind it may be harmless. Some avoid eating to control weight, while others have simply lost appetite with age. But the body needs glucose to regulate blood pressure and maintain stable circulation to the brain. Without food, the body overcompensates, releasing stress hormones to keep blood sugar up. The vessels constrict, the heart strains, and the brain becomes more vulnerable to inadequate oxygen supply. A light morning meal can ease this stress and stabilize the delicate balance between sugar, pressure, and brain function. The goal is not a heavy breakfast, but a protective one, something gentle enough to nourish without overwhelming digestion. What makes all of this profound is not that these habits are complicated or exotic. They are ordinary, unnoticed, even mundane. The danger lies in their familiarity. We do not fear what we see every day, yet the body is constantly interpreting these choices as signals. When we rush, it prepares for defense. When we deprive it of water, it concentrates the blood in a way that invites clotting. When we neglect early signs, it adjusts silently until it can no longer compensate. Stroke is not sudden. It is a slow failure of the dialogue between lifestyle and physiology. And that dialogue grows louder in the morning. As we grow older, we must acknowledge something about the body. It becomes less forgiving. Youth hides mistakes, absorbs shocks, and celebrates resilience. After 60, the body values gentleness. It wants time to adapt. It wants slow transitions and mindful nourishment. It wants respect for the invisible work that keeps blood moving and neurons firing. Yet we often treat it with impatience, pushing it to hurry, to ignore pain, to meet expectations shaped by a younger version of ourselves. This mismatch between biology and behavior becomes one of the greatest health risks of aging. Imagine if instead of waking with urgency, we woke as though greeting an old friend, kindly, without demand. We sit on the edge of the bed and allow dizziness to pass. We drink water to remind the bloodstream of its purpose. We breathe before we think of problems. We nourish the body gently before stimulating it with caffeine or expectation. These are not dramatic lifestyle changes. They are shifts in awareness, rooted in an understanding of how the body actually functions. There is a profound truth hidden in all of this. The first signs of disease are not symptoms, but routines. The body speaks long before it suffers. It shows its distress through patterns, through how we wake, how we move, how we ignore subtle changes. And health is not just the absence of disease. It is the presence of attention. The older we become, the more that attention becomes a form of medicine. Let us hold this knowledge with humility, not fear. The morning is not a threat. It is a signal. It is a chance to choose a rhythm that protects the vessels, respects the brain, and honors the life it has carried for decades. When we listen closely, we discover that health is not built by heroic actions or strict rules. It is built by quiet habits, repeated gently, especially in the first moments of each day. And when those habits change, the risk of stroke does not have to grow with age. Instead, age can become a time of wisdom, where we finally learn to care for the body that has always tried to care for us.